Carol Burnett is one of the most loved and respected stars in American entertainment. For decades, people have known her as a woman with a warm heart, a bright smile, and a talent that made millions laugh. She brought joy to homes all across the country with her kindness, her humor, and her natural ability to make even the saddest day feel lighter. But behind that kindness, behind the laughter, and behind the calm image that millions saw on television, there were moments in her life filled with stress, anger, fear, and even deep disappointment. There were people she trusted who broke that trust. There were friendships that fell apart. And there were men in her life who, for different reasons, caused her more pain than most people ever knew. Some of these men were part of her personal world, while others were part of her long and successful career. Some hurt her through betrayal and dishonesty. Some hurt her through ego and pride. And at least one hurt her so deeply that she never fully forgave him, even though she moved on with her life. To understand all of this, we must go back to the years when Carol Burnett ruled television with The Carol Burnett Show, a show that became a cultural treasure and made her a true legend. It was a time when she seemed untouchable, strong, and always cheerful. But hidden behind the bright stage lights was a private world that was not always full of laughter. One of the most shocking and painful relationships she ever dealt with was with her co-star Harvey Korman, a man who was once her favorite partner on screen and someone she trusted more than almost anyone else. Harvey and Carol had amazing chemistry. When they performed together, it looked so natural that viewers believed they were perfect teammates, almost like family. They were the heart and soul of the show. But as the seasons passed, Harvey changed. He became irritable. He became distant. He became quick to anger. And slowly, the warm friendship they once had began to crumble. In the world of show business, stress, fame, jealousy, and pressure can turn even the strongest partnerships into something fragile. And that is exactly what happened between Carol and Harvey. During the early years of the show, they worked together with respect, trust, and shared joy. But by the mid-1970s, rumors behind the scenes said that Harvey had become frustrated. Some believed he felt overshadowed by Carol's fame. Others believed he was dealing with personal issues that made him short-tempered. Whatever the reason, his behavior grew more difficult, and Carol found herself in a position she never expected to be in with someone she once considered her closest friend on set. The breaking point came during a rehearsal in 1974. The cast was preparing for an episode with a guest star who had flown in all the way from London. Everything should have gone smoothly, but during Harvey's scene, a small technical mistake happened. A light was placed incorrectly, leaving part of his face in shadow. Instead of calmly addressing the problem, Harvey exploded. He threw his script. He yelled at the lighting crew. He shouted about how people should get it right after all the years he had worked on the show. His anger shocked everyone. Even more painful for Carol, he said loudly that she didn't even notice the problem, as if blaming her for something that had nothing to do with her at all. That comment cut through her like a knife. Carol Burnett, who always treated her cast with love and patience, realized she could no longer ignore his behavior. She walked onto the stage, not with anger, not with yelling, but with calm strength. She told him that if he couldn't respect the people who worked with him every day, then he did not need to be there. Those words stunned the room. Harvey stared at her, then walked off the set. It was a moment that changed their working relationship forever. Carol sat quietly afterward, staring at the empty chair where Harvey had been. She whispered that she didn't want it to end that way, but he had gone too far. For days, the story spread all around Hollywood. People whispered that the famous duo had finally broken apart. And for a moment, it seemed like Harvey Korman might never return to the show. But after some time, Harvey called the studio. He said he wanted to speak to Carol. When she answered the phone, he apologized. He said he was wrong. He asked to come back. The next day, he apologized to the entire crew and to Carol herself. She forgave him, but something between them had changed. Even though they continued working together, the magic of their earlier friendship never fully returned. This story shows something important about Carol Burnett's life. She was patient, kind, and forgiving, but she also had limits. She respected people deeply, and she expected respect in return. When someone crossed that line, it hurt her. But Harvey was not the only man who caused her pain. The next story in her life was even more heartbreaking because it involved someone she loved not just as a co-worker, but as a husband. Joe Hamilton was a producer, a talented man who helped shape her career and her show. They had a strong creative partnership, and for a time, they had a loving marriage. They supported each other. They built projects together. They shared dreams of success. But over the years, their marriage began to weaken. Work took over much of their relationship. Joe grew more controlling of the show, making decisions without her. He spent more time away from home, and rumors began to spread about him spending too much time with a young woman who worked at the studio. Carol tried to stay strong. She focused on her career. She remained calm in public. But privately, she felt the pain growing. She learned about business moves Joe made without her knowledge, including registering projects based on her work under his own production name. This betrayal felt deeper than anything she had experienced with Harvey. This was not a co-worker. This was her husband. Someone who was supposed to protect her, not use her success for his advantage. When she confronted him, the conversation did not go the way she hoped. Joe brushed off her concerns, saying it was just business, even though she believed their marriage was built on trust. It was the moment she realized that their relationship had changed forever. Filing for divorce was one of the hardest decisions of her life, but she knew she had to protect what she built. The legal battle was long and painful, filled with arguments about rights, ownership, and control. The world watched, and newspapers wrote about it constantly. But through it all, Carol remained graceful. She defended herself without cruelty. She held her head high. And when the divorce was final, she moved forward with quiet strength. She did not attend Joe Hamilton's funeral years later, but she sent flowers with a note wishing him peace. Even after everything, she chose kindness, a true reflection of who she was. Yet there is still one more man whose story remains to be told, a man whose actions surprised and angered Carol Burnett more than almost anything else in her career. And it all began with a late-night phone call that left her shocked, speechless, and deeply upset. The next man who deeply frustrated Carol Burnett, perhaps even more than Harvey Korman or Joe Hamilton, was someone she barely knew personally but whose actions shocked her so much that she felt she had to fight back in a very public way. This man was the famous Hollywood actor Marlon Brando, a name known around the world for his talent, his intensity, and his strange, unpredictable behavior. During the early 1980s, Marlon Brando was already a legend. People respected him for his work, but they also knew he could be difficult, private, and sometimes rude. Carol Burnett had admired his acting for years, but she never expected that she would become the target of a joke that felt so cruel and unnecessary that she described it as one of the most upsetting things ever done to her in the entertainment world. The whole situation began with a late-night phone call that came when Carol was at home, relaxing after a long day. The call was from her agent, and his voice sounded serious. He told her that a comedy show had just aired a sketch that made fun of her in a way that felt insulting. Carol was confused at first. She had been the subject of jokes before. She understood comedy. She laughed at herself often. But what her agent described was not a simple joke. It was not friendly humor. It was something that crossed the line for her, something that twisted her public image into something dirty and mean. The sketch suggested she behaved in ways that were completely false and disrespectful, presenting her as someone foolish and inappropriate. The moment Carol heard what was said, she felt her stomach twist. She felt embarrassed, angry, and shocked that someone would use her name in such a way without thinking of the harm it could cause. For most of her life, Carol had kept a calm attitude toward criticism. She believed in fairness. She believed in good humor. But this time she felt deeply wronged. She felt her reputation was being attacked. The next morning, she met with her team and reviewed the sketch. Watching it broke her heart. It did not feel like satire. It felt like a direct attack. Carol had worked for decades to build a career based on kindness, respect, and family-friendly entertainment. She avoided involving herself in gossip or scandals. She treated everyone with dignity, from audience members to stagehands. But the sketch made her look like the opposite of everything she stood for. It made her look rude, irresponsible, and foolish. Carol could not let it pass. She felt she had to stand up for herself, not just to protect her own name but to send a message that even celebrities deserved fairness. And so she made a decision she rarely made: she took legal action. This shocked Hollywood. Carol Burnett suing someone? It was almost unheard of. The news spread fast. Reporters covered every detail. Headlines shouted about the battle between Carol Burnett and the show that mocked her. People debated on talk shows whether she was right or wrong. But Carol stood by her choice. She explained that the sketch had not hurt her because she was a celebrity, but because it crossed the line of decency. It suggested she had done things she had never done. It insulted her family. It attacked her character. She believed that jokes should be funny, not cruel. And she believed celebrities should not be treated as if they had no feelings. Behind the scenes, the show that aired the sketch tried to defend itself. They claimed it was just comedy. They said they did not mean harm. But Carol felt that intention did not erase the damage. She held firm. And surprisingly, she won the case. The victory made history. It proved that comedians and television producers had limits, even when talking about famous people. It also showed the world a different side of Carol Burnett. People already knew she was funny. They knew she was graceful. But now they saw she was strong. They saw she could stand up for herself with dignity. They saw she would not allow anyone to harm her reputation without reason. This moment became one of the biggest public fights of her career, even though she never wanted it. But the story does not end there. Years later, when Carol spoke about the event, she revealed something surprising: she had not been as angry at the show as she was at Marlon Brando himself. Why? Because even though Brando did not personally write the sketch, he was part of the joke in a way that felt deeply disrespectful to her. He allowed his name to be used in the sketch, and the way he participated made it seem like he approved of the cruel humor directed at her. Carol later said in an interview that she had always admired Marlon Brando's work. She saw him as a deep, serious actor. But his involvement in that sketch made her feel he did not care about the impact it had on her. It felt like a personal insult, even if he had not meant it that way. This was the moment when Carol Burnett realized something important about Hollywood. Fame does not protect you. Respect is not automatic. Even the people you admire can disappoint you. And sometimes, the people who hurt you are not the ones closest to you but the ones you never expected to cause you pain at all. The experience left a mark on her. And in later interviews, when she was older and more reflective, she admitted that if she ever felt true anger toward anyone in the industry, it was toward the people involved in that cruel sketch, especially the legendary actor who had allowed his name to be used for something so unkind. But even after all of this, Carol did not become bitter. She did not carry hate in her heart. She continued to bring joy to others. She continued to perform. She continued to smile. Yet the story shows that even the kindest people, even those who spread laughter, can face hurtful actions. And it shows that Carol Burnett, despite her gentle nature, was not afraid to stand up when someone crossed the line. This was one of the few times her calm personality broke, not because she liked drama but because she believed in fairness. She believed in protecting her image. And she believed that jokes should not destroy someone's dignity. With the battles involving Harvey Korman, Joe Hamilton, and Marlon Brando, Carol faced challenges that most people never see. But her life still held more stories, stories of pain, resilience, strength, and the ability to forgive even when the wounds ran deep. And in the final chapter of her reflections, she revealed the man who hurt her more than anyone else, the one person whose actions stayed with her the longest, leaving an emotional scar she never fully forgot. As Julie Andrews entered the later years of her career, many people wondered if she would slow down, step away from the spotlight, or simply enjoy a peaceful life outside the entertainment world. But Julie was never the kind of person to sit still. Her heart was always full of creativity, imagination, and a deep desire to keep inspiring others. Even though she could no longer sing the way she used to, she discovered many new ways to share her voice with the world. One of the strongest examples of this new chapter in her life was her work as an author. Julie Andrews wrote many children's books, and each one carried the same warm, magical feeling that her movies had. She believed that stories have the power to shape young minds, to teach kindness, and to open doors to wonder. She wanted her books to be a safe and beautiful place where children could dream freely, think deeply, and explore new ideas without fear. She wrote with such care and love that many parents and teachers around the world began using her books to help children learn to read and express themselves. Julie once said that writing for children was one of the most joyful parts of her life, because it gave her a chance to connect with young people in a gentle and meaningful way. During this time, Julie also discovered a growing passion for narration and voice acting. Although her singing voice had changed, her speaking voice remained one of the most unique and calming in the world. Many people described her voice as comforting, smooth, and full of grace. Because of this, Julie was invited to narrate many documentaries, animated films, and educational projects. Young audiences who had never seen Mary Poppins or The Sound of Music suddenly knew her as the wise and elegant queen in the animated film Shrek or as the narrator in different series and movies. It was beautiful how her voice, something she once feared she had lost forever, became the very tool that helped her stay connected to audiences across generations. She proved that even when life forces you to change direction, you can still find a new path that leads to joy and purpose. Julie embraced this new direction with courage, showing people everywhere that your value does not disappear just because something in your life changes. In addition to writing and voice work, Julie Andrews also became a strong supporter of the arts. She spent much of her time encouraging young performers, speaking at schools, theaters, and events where she talked about creativity, discipline, and the importance of believing in yourself. Julie understood the challenges that young artists face, especially when they are just beginning and do not know if they are good enough. She wanted to be a source of light for them, the same way others had supported her when she was young. She reminded them that true success does not come from fame or awards, it comes from passion, practice, and the ability to touch people's hearts. Her speeches were simple, honest, and full of wisdom. Many young performers said they walked away feeling more inspired than ever. In her presence, people felt seen, understood, and encouraged. One of Julie's most meaningful contributions during this time was her work on a children's educational show that she co-created. The show focused on art, music, theater, and storytelling, and it aimed to give kids a fun and imaginative space to learn. Julie appeared in the show as a gentle guide, helping children explore creativity in a way that was both entertaining and educational. Her joy was genuine, and her love for children's learning was clear in every episode. She believed that the arts were not just a hobby, they were a powerful tool for helping children express themselves, solve problems, and build confidence. Many parents were thankful for the show because it encouraged curiosity in a simple and beautiful way. Julie's presence made the show feel safe, loving, and full of imagination. During this period, Julie also began sharing more of her personal stories and life lessons with the world. She talked openly about her struggles, her challenges, and the difficult moments she had faced throughout her life. She wanted people to know that even someone who seems strong, elegant, and successful has also experienced fear, sadness, and pain. This honesty made her even more beloved. She became a role model not just for her talent, but for her humanity. She showed that vulnerability is not weakness, it is a way to connect with others and remind them they are not alone. She spoke about healing, resilience, and the beauty of trusting your own strength. Many people, especially women, found comfort in her words. They saw her as someone who understood their struggles and encouraged them to move forward with grace. As Julie continued to grow older, her wisdom seemed to deepen. She often talked about gratitude and how important it is to appreciate life's simple moments, things like morning light, laughter with loved ones, the feel of a warm cup of tea, or the joy of reading a good book. She reminded her fans that life does not have to be loud or perfect to be meaningful. She believed in slowing down, taking a breath, and noticing the beauty around you. Her words carried a sense of calm that many people needed, especially in stressful times. She became a comforting voice not just in movies or books, but in everyday life. Even though Julie faced health challenges and changes that came with age, she never lost her sense of humor. She remained witty, sharp, and full of playful energy. She enjoyed telling stories from her early career, making people laugh with behind-the-scenes moments from famous movies. She loved surprising fans with funny memories or unexpected details about her experiences. Her humor showed that true elegance is not about being serious all the time, it is about being real, open, and joyful. She carried herself with dignity, but she also knew how to laugh at life's little surprises. Julie Andrews also stayed deeply connected to her family. Her relationships with her children and grandchildren were a major source of happiness for her. She often said that family was her anchor, the place where she felt most at home. She enjoyed spending time with them, sharing stories, playing games, and appreciating the simple comfort of being together. She loved watching her grandchildren grow and discover their own passions. In many ways, her family life reflected the same warmth and love that people sensed in her movies. It was clear that her kindness was not just something she performed for the public, it was a true part of who she was. Today, Julie Andrews remains a symbol of grace, strength, and timeless beauty. Her journey shows that life does not always follow the path we expect, but even when things change, we can still find new ways to shine. She is an example of how to keep moving forward with hope, how to embrace change with courage, and how to use your gifts, whatever they are, to make the world a little brighter. Julie's story is not just about fame or talent, it is about heart. It is about choosing kindness, staying curious, and believing that your voice matters, even if it sounds different than before. She reminds us that every stage of life has something valuable to offer, and that we should welcome each chapter with open hands.